Well, I'm going to go ahead and go first. My name's Kyle Miller. I graduated from the University of Idaho. Did a little bit of studying under Dr. Egan, um, and I'm here as a elementary PE teacher right now. I spent some time in a high school, um, and I have written several grants, but only have been awarded, just a few of those. Um, and so some of the grants that I have received are from St. Luke's. I received the same grant. I've actually received it three times. They like to do um, a duplicate receiving recipients, which is really nice. And so I've used it for technology, for getting a big speaker, an iPad, and a projector. So I can do some awesome interactive things with technology, because as we know, the more and more of our technology age comes up with the students, we have to be able to adapt. So I wanted to enhance our department that way. I also got another grant for Swivel. If you haven't looked into Swivel, that's some pretty awesome stuff that you can record yourself, and then reflect on your teaching and see what's going on and send it out to principals or the other students that missed that day. I also got some standing grants with the same grants, or some standing desks, excuse me, with the same grant. And then with our local Twin Falls Education Foundation, I've received some grant for some movement corner stuff, stability balls, wobble boards, anything that can be in the classroom that they can use for productive movement, to get them a little more physical activity and some brain breaks. And then I just received one not too long ago. Well, just received the equipment anyway from USA Lacrosse, and to getting some sticks to start some lacrosse up in our area. And I have some partnering with a senior who's doing or a junior who's going to do their senior project on how to teach lacrosse and do a camp at our school with the equipment that I got. And I am currently the grant specialist. I got to name myself, so I called myself the grant specialist for my school. And so anybody that has an idea about grants, or they don't know how to start, how to write one, first point of contact is me. So we sit down, we hash it out, and I assist them, or they kind of give me the ideas and I write the grant, and then we kind of see where that takes us. So that's a little bit about me and my experience with the grants. And I'm going to have Chris introduce herself.
All right. So I'm Chris Meyer. I am currently serving as the department chair in the physical education department at Lewiston High School. Recently took a position as a board member of SHAPE Idaho, and I teach fitness classes at Lewiston High School. And so we opened doors on a new high school in the fall of 2020, and we as a physical education department, our members were, we did not want to move old equipment into a brand new facility. So we started thinking, like, what can we do? And my colleague Jessica and myself really started going, like, grant funding. We need to figure this out. And Jessica has a great deal of experience, which you can talk about here in a bit, but sharing her knowledge and I think my resourcefulness and just, we are going to make this happen. We just took it upon ourselves to start searching for grants and looking through to see what we could find. And you can see on the screen there, so we really started our process back in 2019, looking forward to moving into our new building and what we needed to upgrade as far as health curriculum, physical education equipment in our weight room. So SHAPE Idaho was one of the first grants that we received for some equipment. And then our local, our school district, there is a Foundation Life Foundation is associated with our school district, and they support our school specifically in grants. Those are small grants that are awarded each year. And we have been fortunate each of the last 3 years, we've written a grant for them and received that for we can, as educators, we have teamed together. Each grant can be awarded for up to $1,000. So as a department, we collaborated on what we needed there, and were able to secure some significant funding from them the last 3 years. And then again, just through research, we have been very fortunate to be grant recipients on several. The Idaho State Liquor Division, they offer grants each year We have received grants from them twice. Local, the Nez Perce Tribe Education Grant, they funded one of our grants for fitness equipment. And the other grants, the LC Valley Healthcare, that is local to Nez Perce County. Any schools in Nez Perce County or any entities really can apply for that. And that's been, they've been super good to us supporting. And I want to talk a little bit about those last two, or the top two on the list rather. The Idaho Office of Drug Policy, we have built our program around, I'm going to talk about this a little bit. Grant writing's hard work. It's not necessarily easy. There's various levels of these grants, and we just, Jessica and I took a shot at this Office of Drug Policy, and our vision for the program really was, how can we, we all know as physical educators, the importance of physical activity and healthy life behaviors and how that can prevent issues with drug abuse and so on. So how do we present this to receive grant money to fund an after-school program? So we spent quite a bit of time. That was a grind working towards that grant, but they awarded us a large portion of that $40,000 in 2020, and then we were able to follow up with that in 2021. So that was huge for us. And then the LC Valley Healthcare, we are currently working our way through a very large grant that we are developing an outdoor fitness area with table tennis area and outdoor fitness equipment. So that's been super exciting. That's a little bit of our background. And when you look at that, I look back at this and go, wow, that was a lot. And it was, and we've been, again, very fortunate. But I'm just going to kind of move us ahead here in some of the presentation and talk a little bit about, where do you even start if you're going to do something like this? And so we just kind of sat down as a department. We knew we needed to upgrade our weight room equipment. I'm going to talk a bit about community funding and how that happened at our high school here in just a little bit. But then for our physical education and our health curriculum, we complete a needs assessment. And you can do a formal needs assessment or just looking around, like make a list. What are some of the things that we need, and what's going to fit the vision of your program, and really having a mission statement for your program, and what is the vision, where do you want to grow to, I think is really important to have those discussions. Are there additional funds that can be provided from another source? So, matching funds, is your school district, if you come up with part of the funding for your proposal, for your program that you're proposing, will they partner with you? And so you need to really kind of go through all of that, do a needs assessment. What is your vision? What are you asking for in your proposal? And are there some various ways of funding that, as well as grant writing? This picture here on your screen, we have a vision board in our office, and it's when Kyle and I were visiting about and putting this together, he was complimenting me on liking the idea of the vision board. But what I really heard from him, he goes, I like it. It's kind of messy. And really, grant writing, that just hit a point. Was like, it is messy. Like it's a lot of sticky notes everywhere. And you can see we made use of our Post-it notes there. But we just, at the bottom of that picture, you can see, I think it's important to have a visual when you're doing a project like this, is, hey, here's what we've already achieved, and everything on that bottom line we've done. Everything there in the middle is kind of what we're working on, and we have some next level, and then what's next. And I think that's really important in your program, whether you're talking about grant writing or curriculum development, whatever it is that you're wanting to do, create that vision board. What do you really want it to look like? Next step, build your team. It's tough doing these projects that are this large alone. I think it's really important whether your team is colleagues, if you work within a large department, or just fellow teachers in your building. Ask people that have written grants before. Come alongside your administration, make sure they're supporting you. Are there community partners out there that can assist you with this? I know in our very first grant that we wrote for the Life Foundation, one of the board members is a paramedic in our community that actually comes into our health classrooms and teaches CPR. And he was a huge catalyst in getting it started for us. And he goes, I've written lots of grants. So just you partner with whoever you can find so that team of people, the networking is really, really important, and I think really valuable. And then, you're ready, get ready, get set, go. What is it that you want to do there with that? Make a plan, contact information, demographics, all the details of, you're going to need your school's tax exempt number. You may need to answer questions like, what is your school budget? Having a mission statement. Many of the applications we filled out, they want to have a mission statement. Do you even have a mission statement for your health and physical education department? You may need to develop that. You might need to look for letters of support, pay attention to due dates and deadlines. All of those things matter. There's that to-do list. I can't mention, that's just, you really have to get organized, and it's a project that you're undertaking when you start to write a grant. The to-do list continues on the second slide. I think following instructions, some grants are super simple. They just ask you some basic information. You put together a proposal, a budget, doesn't have to be anything detailed. The two grants, it seems like the larger the grant ask, the more difficult the application is kind of a general rule. I know the Office of Drug Policy, the state of Idaho Office of Drug Policy grant that was very detailed. That was very, very detailed. Read the instructions, follow the instructions. And I really think attention to detail is a key in writing successful grants. I'm going to turn it back over to Kyle and let him talk about how resourceful he is at finding grants.
Well, sometimes they just come naturally, and other times you really got to work for it. A good place to start is just some local organizations. So, you can hit up hospitals. That's been one of mine. And I think up in Lewiston, y'all have partnered with a medical center up there as well. Like Kiwanis and the Lions, the Rotary, like all of those probably have some sort of grant program that you can utilize. You can also use state organizations. As of right now, we have a little plug in here for Shape Idaho. We do have grants that you can apply for, and so utilize some of those fun resources. Like I said, the local hospital. Three of my grants have been from them, and I have their email contacts for the people who put out the grants, and we have conversations often about, hey, what other ones are you what other ones you putting out? And so that also helps with networking as well. And then going even bigger with national organizations. So with USA football, basketball, lacrosse, like I said when I was introducing myself, I got one for USA lacrosse as a physical education program. They have different sets and styles, and so I got 30 sticks and 30 balls, and so my kids can experience lacrosse, and they wouldn't have experienced it any other way. And then, like I said, the Shape, you got to utilize some of those awesome resources that we have. There's Shape America, and we have Shape Idaho, and then just PE stuff in general that we all know about, the PE Central, Spark, and then Gopher, all the things that we know as PE and health people. It's just something that's just always there. And then sometimes just a simple Google search works just fine. And when you Google it, you might come to a couple of sites like grants.gov and Idaho Grant Watch, depending on where you are. Now those, I'm going to talk briefly about those. They are asking for a paying subscription, so you get full access to what the grants are asking for. And all I'm going to say is you can be a little resourceful and kind of make your way around some of those things, and you can find that grant that spotted and caught your eye. And then also bigger stuff. I know Walmart does stuff, Target and Lowe's and Home Depot. So I'm actually looking in one for Lowe's and Home Depot to have a shed put out for some of our like playground equipment and stuff. And I think that would be huge because we don't have any storage space, and I'm sure you're in the same boat. So Google sometimes just comes to the best one. It really does. And when you start to write these grants, it's going to ask you a lot of questions, Chris, she started to go over, it's going to be sometimes depending on the amount that they're willing to award, you've got to, they make you work for it. And so when you go into it, kind of have some of this information in the back of your mind, kind of already pre-planned if you can. If not, you'll most likely have to go and find it. And so, here at the school, I use, what people would think in a negative way, where our students are 91% in poverty. We are, the whole school is a free and reduced lunch because it's, in Idaho, if 80% qualify, 80% or more, the whole school is. We're Title I, and we have several ELL, and we are a newcomer school. So we are the school if people come into the country and they are located in Idaho and they go to Boise or Twin, and we are the school for elementary age students that they come to. So we have people from, I think we are representing 15 different countries and about 36 different newcomers as of right now. And so some of those like little topic things really makes the grant with a little bit of punch of, this is why we need it. This is our vision. This is our mission statement. This could be why we use it. People, view those as a negative things, but I view them as a positive thing, especially if you start to write grants with them as well. It'll oftentimes ask for a department budget. Mine's only $250 a year. And so I buy a set of 6 balls and then, oh, all right, I can get some water cups. There's not much you can do with it. And so I have to go and try to find some grants and some money for it. And it can take a long time. Some grants, if I know the system and I've written the grant before, I can look at it and I can sit down during my lunch and prep and that, hour and 15 that I have, and I can get a good majority of it done and then finish it up after school and send it out. Others, it takes days and weekends and some more days and months. And so depending on what type of grant you're looking for and what your vision for the program, it might be, a few hours is, just 1 or 2, and it could be, months. It just really depends on what you're really asking for and how much and what they're asking for as well as you put the detail into it. I always like to research the organization. Like, what is their why? Why are they wanting to give this money? What is their why? What is their mission statement? And then I take their words and their mission, and I pair it up with mine and what I want to do with the program. So I'll pick out a couple of keywords that they have in their mission statement or in their general description of the company or organization, and I'll use that. And it's not in a manipulative way, but it's we share these values, and so I want you to notice that we share the value of educating, of staying healthy, and all the little keywords that these organizations have. And then it also resonates with them a little bit, and they're like, oh, I can see that it lines up pretty well. So do a little research on the organization of whoever's given those out, and don't be a robot. When you're writing these grants, there's a purpose, there's a passion, like you have a vision for educating so many young great students, and when you put that passion in the application, they know it. I've gotten feedback just not on like what I wrote, but like how I wrote it and the emotion that I had with it. And sometimes depending on the organization, they're like, whoa, this guy's a little too much. But I've gotten like we can tell that you're really wanting, this for your students, and, you have a great passion for your students. Yeah. Like I wouldn't be writing a grant if I didn't, because then I'd just be playing with broken sticks all the time. And then, along with that, the passion, sell yourself. Yeah. It's like a resume. You make sure you put the best self out there you can. Right. And it just sell yourself. And then oftentimes it'll say the why, right? So we've touched on that quite a bit of, why is this grant needed, right? And I say, my budget's $250. I have students that never heard of lacrosse before. I have students that have never picked up a football. They've never seen anybody golf. They've never seen a golf club. And so all these little things of, why do you need it? Why do you need it? And sometimes it just comes down to bettering the department, in XYZ component. And then in the why you need it, this is where super, specific keywords can come into play. So like differentiated instruction, providing support. So when I wrote the grant for the technology, I had iPad, speaker, and projector, and we have a decent amount of students who are hearing impaired, and I wear a microphone and it comes over the speaker, and so they can hear me well enough where they're able to. I don't have to do any other modifications because I got that grant. So I made sure and I put that in there when I wrote it. And sometimes just words like we're upgrading, we're advancing. We want to do research to see how standing desks improve the behavior and the academic scores of the students. One thing I used. And then it's stress like the importance, right? The high needs things. Standards, right? Developmental appropriate, and like what's going to be best for the student, and kind of explain why. And we're going to partner with, and then words like innovate and expand, right? Those are like key words that kind of pop, that can really just add just amount of good juice into the grant. And so these, again, going with the words, sometimes it's all how you word it. And so if we have envision, like the vision board, that just, I really did. I had to compliment their department on how awesome that was. And I said, it's a bunch of sticky notes and it's just kind of messy. And it is, because sometimes your brains and your thoughts are just kind of messy, and grant writing can be the same thing. And so what is your vision? How can your mess of a vision be put down into this is how we want to better our department, this is how we want to better our education for the students. And I think a big thing, I'm gonna kind of skip down to the bottom, is community. I use the community aspect quite a bit, because we don't have too much parent support. And so, I say I've partnered with, Gemstone Climbing Center and Delta Dental of Idaho to provide, this and this to, fill in the gaps that I don't have and that the students' resources don't have. And then from there, a lot of times networking comes off of partnering with a couple of, bigger things in the community. And then investments, right? Explain and give evidence of how you will be a good steward of the grant funds. This is huge. A lot of times it'll say, what's the amount you're asking? And then in the next box, it's give a detailed breakdown of your budget, right? And so this is, you might have to go and get quotes from your IT guy for the Apple iPad and the speaker and the projector, and have those all ready, and you can upload those with the grant, because it shows that you've done some work before you've even decided about writing this grant, right? And you've done some of that grunt work, and so that shows some that you have some motivation to get it done. And we have a link for some pretty good power words, and some of these have links kind of into the slides, and we'll try to put those into the chat so everybody has access to some of those. And so with the grants, these is really nice if you just take what you wrote, and then you can kind of plug and play in with some words. And I'm gonna have Chris take over on this one, I think.
On that, well, and then one thing I would just follow up on there is save all your grant documents. So every grant that you apply for, just having that saved, because a lot of times you can come back and copy paste, and you know, if it's asking similar questions, maybe you just need to change it up just a little bit so you have that document to refer to. So definitely save your work. It's really important as you're moving forward with grant writing. It can save you a lot of time that we talked about. It takes a lot of time to write grants, and the more of those you do and the more you save, you can use that information with additional grant writing. Community resources, I mentioned I would talk just briefly about this. We had one member in our department basically take this on of community funding our new weight room at Lewiston High School. And I just think this is another avenue to explore. It's, you know, not really writing a grant, but opportunities for other resources that are out there, and community that wants to invest in education in your program. And this goes back to what Kyle said about selling yourself and putting yourself out there. But our weight training, one of our weight training teachers went out and he just fundraised major businesses, you know, using their logos, you know, promotional material posted in the weight room and so on. But I just wanted to mention that as another source. And I know there's, like with the Walmart, the Target, and some of those, you know, like Kyle mentioned, the shed, oftentimes, you know, if there's something that you need specific like that, the community, I mean, there's people out there that are willing to donate that without the process of a grant writing. Right now, I'd like to have Jessica jump in. Kyle and I have given you quite a bit of information. And like I mentioned earlier, Jessica has a great deal, extensive amount of grant writing experience. And I have learned a lot from working with her. She's been a great resource. So Jessica, if you wouldn't mind just jumping in and giving us your thoughts on grant writing.
Yeah, I mean, I love your guys' presentation, your outline. You're hitting on all those important like key points. And I think that people can really take them and develop their own little action plan. So it is definitely a journey, and you never want to give up. You know, you will apply for more grants than you will typically receive, but in the end, it's well worth it. So the payoff is huge, even though statistically, I guess for me, I look at it like a good batting average, right? In baseball, it might only be 300, but that's still really, really good, right? We can bat over. And so it pays off. Some of the key things as I was just listening to those previous slides were, I can't emphasize enough that the organization and the action plan, and having those dates, and creating, like Chris and I created Google Docs and sheets and the folders and the organization within those, so we can refer back to our templates. And I even just yesterday, a reminder popped up in my calendar and it said, check out Nez Perce Tribe grant. So what happened was, like, the first time we had missed it, right? So you'll miss a grant. And so I don't like to miss it again. Like, I don't want to, but I'll forget about it, right? Because there's so many things going on. So I'll put it in my calendar for in the future to check out, when's that next grant cycle opening up? Are they still funding it? And that gives me some time to kind of, you know, research the organization a bit further and make sure my vision and mission kind of matches up with theirs. So I know that I'm a strong candidate for the application. So I just thought that was funny going into today. I was like, yeah, I just had one of my reminders pop up, and then I'll invite Chris to those reminders and we'll add them to our shared calendar so that we can check that out together. So don't be afraid to do that. And when I first started, it was a check-in like every 6 months, like just a reminder, a nudge, maybe on a Sunday morning during some time reading the news and drinking a cup of coffee, of, you know, checking out grants. Like, I'm just going to search for grants for 15 minutes and see what I can find, or I'm going to work on this little, you know, piece here, and who can I ask for help? When I first started, I remember, you know, I think the other thing is you should not be afraid to write a grant if you feel like you're not a strong writer. Like that's okay. And I know that that's like a big barrier sometimes at first, when people will be like, well, I can't write well. I'm not a writer. I'm not a blogger. I don't have an English background. Neither did I, right? But the more practice that you have, the better you'll get, and you'll find people that are willing to read it for you. So I get plenty of requests from friends and colleagues to proofread things. I get I asked my spouse, he's a great editor, and someone from my district office, and when I taught in Moscow years ago, she was a coordinator for other programming, and she was happy to read through and give me feedback, and I learned a lot from her. And then other people just taking grant writing workshops and reading those blogs out there, like I've blogged on the topic. The more you kind of immerse yourself in it and start to read things and look at things, the easier it becomes. And like Kyle mentioned, all those key words, that's huge, just to be able to again match up what they're looking for and how does that match up with what I'm looking for. um, and then the other two things before I forget is that sustainability plan, and maybe you guys will talk to that in the future. I think the grant folks want to know that their money's going to a good place where it's not a one and done kind of deal. Like we're always looking, and that's why I think it's important to have that vision board, right? Is because there's always this bigger picture that it feeds into, even though it might appear just to you it's just this one thing, but really it's part of this bigger picture. So like for our Shape Idaho grants, we were like looking for a spike ball and cross mitten, and to somebody that might just seem like a unit, but to us that's these non-traditional games that are recreational, that encourage a lot of different opportunities, and that feeds into that next bigger picture. And now we have our lifetime fitness course, and meeting the needs of those kids and expanding that. So it all definitely always continues to go to your bigger vision. And then lastly, and then I'll let you guys keep going, the other thought I had was like searching for things. Don't forget to ask those vendors even directly for the bigger items. Like, so IHT, for example, the heart rate monitors that we use, they, because their items are more expensive, they usually have their sales representatives are very good about helping you find money as well. And they will even have grant writing templates for you to use, and how to look at your district office for that federal money. They are sending out emails to us all the time as our current customers on tips that you could, as a future customer, you could be contacting them and they could be giving you that information, or it's probably posted on their website actually. So don't be afraid to contact those vendors directly for that help.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica. I mean, all great information. And the more grants that you write, I mean, you just become much more experienced at it, and all that knowledge that we gain. I feel like I've learned a lot from Jessica in this process, and in turn, I can share that with others. And just this short bit of time I've been networking with Kyle over with this presentation, learning from each other. So do not forget the power of networking, and there's people that will help you out and get started with this. So don't let that hesitation stall you out. The next thing I want to talk about just a little bit, I mean, the fun part, we were awarded a grant. Now what? So we always do like a happy dance or something like that, and high fives and all of that. And so after you do the whoop whoop kind of stuff, it's like, all right, it's time to get to work. So, then you go back and look at, okay, review your project timeline. A lot of the grants will ask you to have a timeline of purchasing your equipment, installation, if it involves installation, implementation of your programming. So review your project timeline, and then get to work. It's securing the quotes, meeting with your administration, again, if it requires installation of any equipment, your maintenance department. It's a whole new to-do list once you are awarded the grants. Like, what do we need to do now? And like Jessica mentioned, we put together our spreadsheets, and all of that documentation it's super helpful. And again, it's a template for the next grant and the next grant, so that you have that. And then once your grant's in place and you're using your equipment, you have your new curriculum in place, evaluate and reflect, how is this working? Do we need to add more equipment? We've been fortunate that some of our grants we've won didn't, a lot of things are a set of 30 for a class, and oftentimes our classes are a little larger. So our school districts has been really good about supplementing or adding to a little bit more equipment if we need it. And then reflect upon what it is, that your programming is doing. What do you want to do next? It's always that. For me, it's always that next step. I challenge my department. What's the next level? The next level. And so that's how I'm always thinking, like, what's the next step? Reflect on what you've done, and then moving forward, how can you, set some new goals and move forward. Grant reports, again, documentation, keeping those spreadsheets, the calendar reminders when grant reports are due. Be familiar with the reporting requirements when you apply for a grant. This would also be known as know what you're getting yourself into, because many grants are, you apply for the grant, you receive it, they send you the money, and you send them a thank you note and you're done. Other grants require reporting, and some of them are as simple as an evaluation at the end of your program or the end of the school year, or once you've used the equipment and whatever your timeline was. So just a one-time reflection, and sharing out what the good and any research that was involved with your grant project. So just a one-time report. The large grant we received from the state of Idaho Office of Drug Policy requires quarterly reports, much more extensive, wanting to see changes, wanting to see results. So just be familiar with those reports that you're going to have to provide, and put them on the calendar as reminders. And that, I know for me, was a real big learning curve of the extensive reports that were required quarterly. And again, now it's that save, cut and paste, update. It's a lot easier the second time around, but just being familiar with those. And if you're fortunate to have a large team, we have a department of 7 people. Assign roles within your team for grant reporting, take turns. I know Jessica and I tag team all the time on getting some of the work done as far as grant reporting and spend out of grants. So determine if you have people to share in the work, that you make a plan for that. A timeline, set the reminders again. Sending thank yous. I just think, that art of gratitude is really important with everything. So when it doesn't require a thank you, but make sure you send a thank you card. We printed up some thank you cards from our department, hand wrote notes and sent them out. I think that it can't hurt, and I think it helps build that relationship. So if you are applying for a grant in the future, you have done that. And then help the company organization celebrate your success. A lot of the grants will ask that you're using their logos and promotional materials. Do that. Share out with them, the good that your program is providing, or the good that you're getting from that grant you received from them. The networking, I've said that word several times. I think it's really important. The grant fidelity, just make sure that, again, read all instructions, know what you're getting into with grant, know what the requests are. Some organizations can be really picky about the vendors. They may be specifically, if you wrote your grant that you are writing it for IHT brand heart rate monitors, you will have to do that regardless of if you get into it in your budgets for part of your grant. It's like, oh, this is more than what we originally were quoted. We're finding that some now with the spend out of our large grant because of shipping costs going up and things like that. So you just really have to pay attention. Oftentimes we've had an experience where we had to go back to the people that provided us with the grant and request some changes because of that. So just know that be very mindful of grant fidelity. Again, that shows that you are going through with the grant as it is supposed to be done. You're not trying to slide something else in that. What company did you get your quotes from for the financial breakdown? They may want to know that. It may matter. Making sure, again, you are purchasing the product you say you're going to, not, oh, hey, we decided this. So it's just that grant fidelity is follow through with your plan. Make sure your spending matches the grant request. You want to keep all your invoices, purchase orders, again, file those away, keep those. It's very important, particularly for grant reporting. Just maintain really good records. I can't emphasize that enough. And it's a task. When you look at, I know with Kyle, with the number of grants that he's received and the grants we have, organization is key. Organization is key. I'm going to turn it back over to Kyle and just talk about a couple more resources, and then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, so a couple of things that popped in my head as Chris was talking. So like the celebration with the organization, that's pretty big. I've sent pictures of the equipment being used. I've also had the organization, so like St. Luke's, come in and watch. they came in and watched a lesson. I was doing some dance stuff, and that's when I used my speaker and the iPad and projector. And she came in and she watched, and she loved it. She took her pictures. And then next Wednesday, I've got somebody else from the St. Luke's coming in to look at the standing desks and see how they're used in the classrooms. So send them pictures, invite them to come and look. And again, it builds that relationship and that networking that you can really have with a key essential person in the community. And if it is really, really good to like stick with the quotes of what you got. But I've ran into, they raised their quote on me for, such and such reason, or, my expiration for the quote expired and now it's higher. And sometimes just having an open line of communication with that organization of say, this was the original, this was my original quote. This is what I was originally going for. This is what happened. I have found a source that's, just as well known and well established, and I can get it for $10 cheaper each per item, or something like that. And sometimes even just opening that communication, but making sure like when you do those quotes, you are following up with the people that you got the quotes, or the company that you said you were buying these things from. That's big. But if it does run into any of those problems, just have the open line of communication with that organization. Kind of explain that. Jumped in on the tangent on that one. So just some additional resources that I've received from organizations. So DrumFit, of course, they want you to purchase their items, and DrumFit is pretty cool. If you haven't heard of it, you should look it up. And this was a PDF document that they sent of here's some grant writing tips and tricks, and they kind of have a brief little outline and how to create a mission statement, and some of those things. And I see that they were being put into the chat, so that's awesome. Thanks for doing that. And then this playground one, this one was not even sure what organization sent me this one, but I saw it and it was really awesome. And it had every state that had every state and which organization were giving grants, similar to playground, PE, health, kind of related things. And so in Idaho, there was a list of 4 or 5 of them, and then there was a huge list of national grants that were at the beginning. And I'm in the process of trying to get a couple of those. And so that was really nice. And that was just the networking. I reached out to DrumFit for a quote one time, and then this other company we're trying to improve our playground and our track around the school. And so, they just sent some resources. Of course they want us to buy their items, but it is nice when they give you some good resources like that. And then I know that Chris has used the Office of Drug Policy. She touched on that one. And then Idaho State Liquor Division, Shape Idaho. Said that one a couple of times, right? Don't forget about us. And give us, apply for some of those grants. And it's, sometimes, like I said, it's the Google search and then networking. I'm not sure. Chris, how did you find the Office of Drug Policy in the Idaho State Liquor Division?
Well, I believe, so in the past, so it's out of Boise State University is where that's housed or they're associated with. And I had received materials from, I think they called it Radar. They've changed it now, and Radar was an acronym, but I received information from the Idaho Office of Drug Policy for health classes. And I think they shared it out via email. And that's how I touched on. I opened it up and started looking, thinking, well, why not us? And that was, why not us? Let's put something together and see what happens. And I think that's, just how everyone needs to approach this. Why not me? Why can't I do? I mean, you can. Grant writing, again, hopefully we've given you a lot to think about here. And I know we want to open it up to some questions if anyone has them, but just be resourceful. And like Jessica mentioned, you're sitting around, you just kind of start surfing and spend a few minutes, and new things pop up all the time. And I know we've given you quite a few resources here today. I'm going to bump this ahead, and I know we have a moderator here. If there's any questions that Kyle and I or Jessica could answer for you, we'd be happy to.
First, thank you so much. Wonderful. Thank you to both of you. Well done. And yes, please, I see there's some problems with the link, so I'm working on getting emails so I can get those to you. And then please, let's have questions. I look forward to the dialogue.
Hi, Brian here. I just want to say thank you for the presentation. I'm over here on the East Coast in Maryland by DC. So it's like almost 8 o'clock. And I had to cover all the classes today. So I was yawning the whole time. I don't want to be rude, but it's a great presentation. I wrote a grant one time. It was on a whim. I just wrote it and forgot about it. Ended up getting the money because they had to give it to somebody. Often grants have to give the money away themselves. So, but this is very informative. I want to get some more big ticket items. This would be helpful for my department. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I think there are a lot of grants out there that I've had mentioned to me, like, we don't have anyone applying. So, I mean, try it, give it a shot. You never know.
And to go along with that too, like, and keep applying. Like, if you don't get funded the first time, like, update your application for that next year and reapply, because it might have been such a really strong competitive pool and they were pulling for you, but you just came up like 1 point short on the rubric. And so, like, do it again, apply again and apply again and apply again. And sometimes even contacting the company to ask for feedback on your application because you really feel strongly about, you know, your vision for the program and receiving that. And that's building that relationship with those people who are providing that money, and you're really showing that genuine interest in it. And that helps as well. And then the data with it too, like, if you, anytime you can have data or numbers with your application, then that helps a lot. Like, how are you going to collect data to show evidence of how impactful it was, even in a simple manner?
Well, and I would just add on to that, because I know the very first major grant that Jessica and I have spent a great deal of time applying for, and it was from the LC Valley Healthcare Foundation. And our ask was a $75,000 project, and we got a no. And that's, you know, so don't be defeated, you know, that we were defeated. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, we did all this work, and, you know, you're super frustrated. It's like, okay, I'm done writing grants for a bit, but don't let that stop you, because I can say we applied for that large one, and then, you know, we're very grateful for the grant awards we received. So it's gone the other way. So don't give up.
Yeah, we have a question from Valerie, and she said she looked at the USA football site. It seems more geared towards middle and high. Are you using the lacrosse tools for class, or did you begin with club? How did you get this started? My students would really love having flag football materials.
Yeah, so with oh, here we go. Yeah, with USA football, a lot of times they'll do like the Play 360 grant. And that one's that one's a really good one. That one's not too much work, and there can even be some professional NFL players that can come to your school if you play the cards right. So dig a little more into that one. The Play 360. That one's usually focused on the flag football, elementary all the way up. And for the lacrosse, that one I actually had our newcomer liaison. Her son is a high school student, and he's big into lacrosse. She's big into lacrosse, and there's not really a lacrosse scene here in Twin. And so they were kind of wanting to get it started. And so they talked to me about it. And she said, you need to write a grant for it. And I said, all right, I'll look at a grant. And so the first place I went to was USA Lacrosse. I said, well, looky there. And there's several different types of grants that they do. They do one for physical education. They have a first stick kind of grant where you're like starting a club, and like getting like advanced equipment for club teams that are a little more experienced. So there's a couple of different grants that they have for that, and mine's going to be just more for PE. And the junior who's going to do his senior project, he's going to come in and because I don't know much about lacrosse. I watched a couple of buddies play it up at U of I on the club team, and he's gonna come in and he's gonna teach me about lacrosse, and then I'm gonna assist him as he teaches the class about lacrosse and how to use the sticks and cradle and all that cool stuff. So the flag football Play 360 is usually a pretty good play360.org. I think so. I think it's the play360.org. Off the top of my head, I wouldn't know. I think so. But NFL Play 360, it'll probably pop up real quick. Awesome. Fuel up to Play 60. That's what it is. Here you go. Thank you, Kate.
And I'm glad Kate put that one in there for the link for the Field to Play 60. I know for me, that was like an instrumental program to be a part of in the Idaho Dairy Council. They're just instrumental partners in supporting schools. It's huge. So for us as Idaho teachers, we should be looking into that big time, especially for elementary and the middle school level. They just support. It's a huge support. It's a great way to bring your whole school together, and it's a PE and a health play for teachers, and it was a huge support for our middle school program. So I highly recommend that. And their folks, they have liaisons that work with educators, and they will help you with that. They want you to be successful.
Hi everybody. Chris.
Hi,
Hello.
Jordan.
Hi. I was wondering, do you feel like there's like a heavy season or heavy period of the year, like when filling out grants, like say like in the fall or in the spring, or is it kind of spread out like throughout the whole year, would you say?
Yeah, good question. I think it's spread out throughout the year, but it seems a little bit more, a lot more of them come available in the spring, like early spring, like start looking in January, February. And I know deadlines for Office of Drug Policy are mid-March, like next week. And I know a couple of our local ones, one deadline's passed and one just came up. So it seems like a little bit more in the spring, but that Idaho Department of Liquor Division grant usually opens in the fall.
And some organizations have a what they call a rolling deadline, and so you can just submit, and then they might get a certain amount of applications, and then they'll say, we'll take this bunch and award, and then we'll take the next bunch and we'll award. And so sometimes they just don't have a deadline, and they'll just start awarding them not as they come in, but in that aspect.
Cool, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris, you have a request for a link to the LC Valley grant, if you're able to share that in the chat.
Okay, I can do that.
I can't tell you how helpful this has been and how inspiring this is to see. Thank you just for sharing your expertise and being willing to share the knowledge you've gained along the way. It's just so exciting to see, and it means so much to see. So thanks for doing this.
You're welcome. I'm glad to share the knowledge, and hopefully we see some more grants being funded in the state of Idaho, growing some programs out there.
Absolutely.
And Maryland, yeah, we're hopeful for you too.
Everywhere across America, yes.
All over.
That's amazing. I'm so excited to have you, Brian. That's really cool.
Before I forget, I wanted to share at the SHAPE National Convention in New Orleans this year, they're going to continue to host coffee talks. And so I'll be doing one It's on Friday, April 29th, if folks are attending, and they're 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. And my topic is going to be grant writing in PE. Is it worth it? And so it'll just be the round table, people come in to share and discuss and like share ideas and support one another. So I just wanted to share that.
Do we have any last questions or thoughts? Or one thing I'm working on with my students, what questions do you have for us? Because then it makes people feel like they need to ask one. So what questions do you have for us? But I won't put you on the spot like that. Thank you all so much for attending. We have recorded and we'll post this for our members, but I realize all of you aren't members, but we will post that for them if you have someone you think that would benefit from it. I know some of the links didn't work and that I sent, so I'm working on getting those and I will email to those of you who've requested. I've also put my email in the chat if you weren't able to reach out yet. Please feel free to use that. And thank you all for doing this. And we hope to see you in Montana for that joint conference. Missoula is an incredible place to be. And then be on the lookout because we'll do something similar to this in the fall as well, just to have kind of universal access for people. Oh, great. Another person from Northwest Missouri. That's incredible. Yeah, so good representation. And yes, Jordan, I'm happy to. Great to see you, by the way.
Thanks. You too.
Yeah. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, everyone.